to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You are listening to episode 17 for the week of March 10th, 2019. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by Mr. Burly Man, Will. What's going on, dude?
Hanging by a thread as usual, man.
Hanging by a thread? I heard you're pumping iron and lifting weights and getting all swole.
Yeah, no, I'm doing more than hanging by a thread, thankfully.
I'm glad to hear that, man. Everything's good?
Yeah, what about you?
Yeah, so far so good. It's I woke up today. The sun's out. It's a good day.
Hey, that's a start.
Yeah.
Some people don't wake up.
That is true.
For long periods of time.
That is very true. And then they get reincarnated as zombies. So.
Or the next Buddha.
I'll take Buddha over the zombies any day.
Yeah, definitely.
Just want to quickly thank everybody for downloading the show. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn Radio, Google Play, or whatever your favorite podcast application is. We're there. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at WDGRPodcast. That's at WDGRPodcast. Will, if somebody would like to aggravate you on social media, how can they do so?
Will_gear.
And if you'd like to bother me, you can find me at ScionStorm. Before we dive into what we're playing this week, let's hit the mailbag. What do you think?
Let's do it.
So, be sure you join us on our Discord channel, by the way, folks. We do have a lovely Discord, which we've been using for about a month and a half now. Lots of great feedback there, and we have a mailbox section, and you can drop us a note. Let us know what's on your gaming mind if you're part of that group. Joe Donut says Joe's Donut says, I know most people don't get fired up about Destiny anymore, but the trailer for the new season of content coming this Tuesday got me super excited, especially since I can go play that instead of Anthem for the next few months. It'll probably come out the other side with a better version of Anthem to try. So Joe actually sent this in last week, and I believe that this new content may have actually dropped yesterday. We're recording on Wednesday this week. So if my math is correct, it's already
better
dropped. Be. Yeah. Did you happen to check out this trailer by any chance?
I didn't. I was meaning to, and since I'm not huge into Destiny, I kind of just put it off subconsciously, but it's pretty cool to see that they're still paying attention to that game, and I know they just kind of did was it Taken King recently?
I think Taken King is actually a couple years back now.
Oh, okay. So whatever the latest release was, I know that they're still, like this article says, injecting cool new stuff into the game. So it's cool to see, for sure.
Yeah, I took a look at the link and I watched the majority of the trailer, and I came to the realization that I have no fucking clue what's going on in Destiny anymore. I used to be a pretty active player. I wouldn't say hardcore, but I was up there. I was playing every night for quite a while.
Sure.
And it was a good game, but I just felt like there was so much going on that if you didn't like stick with it religiously and just become a hardcore player, just get left in the dust. I had a friend that was playing far more than me, and I couldn't keep up.
Yeah, it seems to be one of those games. It's very grindy. Like, you have to stay with it. It's a dedication, a big commitment. It
is, but they do what they do very well. I do think it's a tremendous game overall. Maybe someday I'll revisit it, but I just I'm so terrified of what awaits at this point.
Yeah, it's like Call of Duty. You vanish for a month, you come back, everybody's a colonel, and you're like, oh my god, I'm just getting like raped out here.
Yeah, exactly. And imagine just the storyline content that's there too.
Sure. Yeah.
But Puckstore says, I've only played Apex Legends for any extended amount of time this week, but my less than 2-year-old daughter is loving playing a classic Atari games with me. She could beat the first level of Jungle Hunt, and she gets a kick out of DDR. That's not an Atari game. She rarely hits a note, but loves just stomping on the dance pad. I realize that she's more into 2D games over 3D games right now and prefers an Atari-style joystick over a D-pad or analog stick. So I've been starting to look around local used game stores for a Genesis arcade stick.
Ooh, that's got to be a tough find.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen a Genesis arcade stick. I know Digital Matrix is a big Genesis guy, so if he's listening to this, maybe he can chime in on that. I'm not sure if Joe would know.
Yeah, I was just thinking about Joe as well, and my cogs are going right now, and I'm not thinking of any Genesis arcade stick. I mean, I could be completely wrong about this, but I just...
Yeah. So a quick Google search, and of course, Classic Game Room has a video on one.
Oh,
So yeah, I'm actually looking at some pictures now. These things are pretty cool. Here, let me get you
yeah,
a link. Let me get you a link to this.
do it.
Let's see here. Ba-ba-ba.
I will say I always wanted to learn DDR like properly, but it's just one of those games that like, it was so popular in the arcade that it was really hard to learn the game unless you wanted to like embarrass yourself,
Yeah.
with an entire line of people waiting to play behind you.
I remember going to Comic-Con one year, and they had a DDR machine, and I shit you not, a 5-year-old was just like
Crushing it.
He was just destroying it, like just absolutely crushing it. I'm watching this kid, and he's just like, it was amazing. It was really amazing.
Yeah, those guys that are really good, they can just eat like a bowl of cereal and still crush it all at the same time and hold on to the bar.
Yeah, it's absurd.
This is a cool looking stick. It kind of reminds me a little bit of those shitty ass Saturn ones that I bought for game day that we just basically tossed in the trash.
I kind of like that they have this like pad on the left hand side, or I don't know if it's like a pad or just a groove, but it looks like
a groove.
Yeah, something to kind of rest your palm on, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, no, that looks halfway decent.
Yeah, I think they have a 3-button variant as well too.
Yeah, I'll have to post that on the Instagram stories.
Yeah, that'd be a hell of a link. So let's see here. We also have from Vortex, Anthem, Mario, Tetris, and PUBG. Still those 4 going strong. Anthem has been fun, but the bugs are making it a tough game to keep playing. Hoping for a patch soon that fixes the problems. Until then, Mario's taking over my time, surprisingly. Also helps I can take my Switch anywhere, which is a huge bonus, especially when we travel to Long Island. So, yeah, I mean, that's a major selling point of the Switch, being able to start on your television and then just seamlessly go into portable mode and then back to the TV again.
Yeah, no, it's refreshing to hear somebody who's using the Switch in a portable manner. And realistically as well, he's not flying all over the country, but, even just going to Long Island, whether he's taking the ferry or Nikki's driving, that seems like something that is worth bringing.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't forget, folks, you can let us know what you're playing. Jump in the Discord, hit us up in the mailbox chatter, and Discord link will be in the show notes below.
Indeed.
So, Will, what are you playing right now?
Vanquish, man. Still plugging away. Yeah, I'm still playing it, believe it or not. My game antics are getting a lot better, and I'm building that commitment, I think, a lot more than before. And I think part of that is because what I said last episode, the game is just fucking fun, man. Like, it's very intricate too, like with what you can actually do as Sam Gideon, who's the character you play. And I'm learning more about his suit. I'm learning more about like different kind of slides that you can do. So it's a ton of fun and very challenging. Like it's a game that it'll test your patience. Like you might break your controller if you're one of those kind of gamers. If not, you might contemplate doing it. So I don't mind that. I actually kind of prefer that sometimes because it keeps you going. It keeps that, momentum there that I think you need to, play one of those kind of like high octane, difficult action shooters.
Right. I mean, that's good though. And I think, to kind of circle back to what you were saying about the, that building that habit again. I think it's important to play a game that's fun in order to establish that habit. Because if you're playing something that's just boring or if it's a chore, you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah. And it's a clever game. It's a classic, Japanese format where, like it'll punish you for mistakes that you made, you will die and you might be mad for like, I don't know, 5 seconds. But if you're smart enough to realize like why you died, you're going to see it as being like a fair death. So it's very, Dark Souls oriented in that sense where it's the same kind of punishment.
Yeah.
Which I enjoy.
I'm looking forward to firing that game up one of these days.
Oh, it's so fun. And I did happen to check it out on PC, just on YouTube, because it was released, I want to say about a year ago on PC, and you can play it in 4K, and it just looks spectacular.
I can imagine. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm playing. What about you?
Anthem.
Yeah,
Anthem.
figured.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still grinding away at that. I just finished the story Monday.
Oh, you did?
So, yep, the campaign is over. There's still, I mean, this type of game doesn't end. So there's different missions that you could do. There's contracts and things like that. There's strongholds which you can go into, which you really need a team for.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've kind of hit the phase of the game where like I'm doing things so I can increase my level and get better weapons, better guns, better loot, essentially.
Okay.
So I'm really looking forward to starting to see some of those things drop. I don't think I'm quite at the point yet where I'm going to see Masterworks weapons or legendary weapons dropping, but hopefully soon, because those are the ones where you can start getting that synergy of, this boosts a skill that you already have, or, you could stack boosts on top of each other, so you can make it that your sniper rifle, does like 3,000% more damage than it would normally do, shit like that.
Okay.
But it's going to take some time to kind of get to that point. And the past few nights, like, I don't know what's going on with me, but like, I've just been struggling to stay awake while playing a game. So like, I beat the campaign on Monday. And then I went back later on in the evening to play it some more, and I'm sitting there and I just start dozing off. So I shut it off, went to bed. Last night I'm playing, same thing. Sitting there, just started dozing off.
Would you say it's the game or you?
I think it's me.
Okay. Just general tiredness.
Yeah. It's been a bit of a hectic kind of couple weeks for me. So, I just, I don't know. But like I've been, even like, 2:00 in the afternoon, like I'll just get like super tired. So
you could try like B12, like not to go off on like a health tangent here, but I started doing that with Lauren, and it's kind of a subtle effect. It's like one of those things that you don't really like know if it's working, but it could work.
I'll have to check into it.
Yeah, just B12, like, pill or gummy. But
interesting.
Bugs aside, it sounds like there's a lot of content that's still worth grinding away at.
Well, I mean, for me, there is. There's people that have already beaten that part of the game and gone way past it at this point. And, they're the loudest voices. They're the ones that are generally complaining the most, I feel, that there's not enough to do. And it's like, well, when you spend an entire weekend playing the game and you clock in, 60 hours between Friday and Sunday, like, what the fuck do you expect?
Yeah.
I haven't even clocked 60 hours in the game total yet. I'm playing an hour here, an hour there. So for me, it's been a pleasant experience for the most part. But the bugs have been bad. Like, I experienced a game-breaking bug in the final boss, where you're facing this boss, and he's got a couple different phases that you go through. And if you die at any point in any one of those phases, you start the whole thing over again. So.
Oh my God.
And these phases are not short. Like you're kind of chipping away, chipping away and causing damage. It might take you 10 minutes to play a phase, and then you move on to the next one. So the whole battle probably ran 10 to 15, probably like 15 to 20 minutes total, I would say. It was lengthy for a boss, for this type of game. And I'm in the final phase. And I'm running from him, and all of a sudden he hits me with his sword, and he hits me so hard that I clip into the ground.
Oh, Jesus.
And I couldn't get out.
And so you went underneath, like, the map.
I was half in, half out. I was literally stuck in between, like, layers on the map. It was, like, a part where, like, there was a dip in the level. So it was kind of, like, stuck in between, like, maybe, like, it's kind of like a staircase. Imagine there's, like, this universe in a staircase, and I'm stuck between two steps.
This sounds like the Battlefield 3 beta, and Joe and Raph will know exactly what I'm talking about here. Maybe even Tom.
You have to dive into that a little further.
Oh, yeah.
What's up with that?
Well, just to touch up on it, when that beta came out, it was pretty much a disaster. It was playable, but at times it was so game-breaking because of the bugs and because of some of the graphical issues where I'll have to put some links up on Discord and the stories, but you would have like this long neck feature where you'd be running around and you would see like another character on the map, like with a giant like what's that dinosaur with the long neck, the Bronchosaurus? It would have like a fucking Bronchosaurus neck, dude.
I think it's Brontosaurus.
Brontosaurus.
I don't want to be that guy, but
That's fine.
You're
Look, we're
talking
not
about
at a fucking dinosaur museum, dude.
Well, yeah, but you just called him like a fucking bacterial disease. So
I mix like bronchitis with saurus. But yeah.
Bronchosaurus Rex over here.
Yeah. But it would have like this crazy long neck, and obviously you could tell it was just a graphical issue because it was a beta, but
Yeah.
there would be times where you would sink into the map or somebody would toss a grenade and it would open up this invisible sinkhole and you would be underneath the map. So it's a very memorable beta, I think, for a lot of gamers because it was so bad but so good.
Yeah. That's always like frustrating for me. Like you experience something that's, it's got so much potential and then it just falls short because it's broken.
Yeah, and we were worried, like, when we were playing the beta, we were like, fuck, man, like, please don't let it be like this, or like, please fix it. And we just kind of kept going with it and just, kept that positive outlook, and it turned out to be fine. I mean, it was a little bit broken when the game came out, but they were pretty good about patching it.
I want to apologize to our listeners right now if they hear a cat purring because he's literally underneath the microphone right now.
Dude, the episode was great, man, but the cat purring's gotta go.
Yeah, I'm having a fight here. Give me a second, folks. I'm sorry. You gotta go down, bud. All right. Anyway, let's see here. So yeah, to kind of put a pin in Anthem for the day, I think there's hope. There's a live stream that's going on at 4:00 this afternoon. We should be done recording by then, so I'm going to tune into that. I'll probably chime in the Discord room about, some of my thoughts on that as well, too.
Okay, cool.
So, but, I mean, they got to get their shit together.
Yeah, I think that's what this boils down to.
And I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but there's a lot of people that are reporting that it's causing issues with the PlayStation 4s as well too, where they're getting booted out to the dashboard, but instead of being able to recover like the Xbox does, when that game crashes, the PlayStation requires a reset or sometimes a power cycle, and when you do the power cycle, it has to rebuild its internal database.
I'm glad you brought this up, Drew, because I was going to bring this up as well. I remember, I think I sent the article out in Discord, and I was just like, I got to share this with the guys because I saw it on Twitter, and whoever posted it said like, this is just getting like unreal, like, and I didn't even really read it. I was just like, I'm going to toss this in the room and kind of let you guys have it, and I just thought, man, like if this is really happening, like that's just fucked.
Yeah. I mean, it was a very similar thing was already happening on Xbox in my case. But with the difference with the Xbox is the game recovers from the crash easily. Or rather, the Xbox recovers from the crash. I shouldn't say the game recovers. So what would happen is the game would freeze, it would crash, it would boot me out to the Xbox dashboard, but the Xbox was still fully usable. I wouldn't need to reboot it. I wouldn't need to do anything with it. Maybe because it's based on Windows, it's used to being crashed. I don't know. But I guess the PlayStation 4 is just not, it's not equipped to handle that sort of an issue, maybe?
Perhaps.
I don't know, but I would have thought that at some point during the certification process, somebody would have caught that.
I would think so, yeah. It's, like I said before, a couple times, it's such a large subject to cover when it comes to like a game being broken, because you have a lot of devs that are very protective of their product, and I understand that. And then you also have like, it's like, hey, like, I understand that there's time constraints and things like that, but like, as a gamer that's paying that much money to get a game, we do kind of expect something that's at least close to being finished or playable.
I agree 100%. So
Bottom line,
I actually scheduled a Facebook post to go live too about this, so you'll see that up on our page as well. Make sure you check it out, WDGRPodcast. All right, so let's see here. Let's dive into some topics. We have a mixed bag of things to discuss today. We're going to start out with PlayStation Plus. They are ending their free game support for the PS3 and for the PlayStation Vita.
Yeah, I think this may not seem so detrimental for most because I think we're all on board now with, current consoles. But at the same time, I still have a PS3, and so does Dave, and so does like a ton of other people in the country. So I think that for some people that maybe can't afford a PS4, it might be a big letdown.
Right.
And then, a lot of people are still relying on, wait, maybe I have my facts wrong. Do they still do like a free multiplayer service for PS3? Because I know that was like a thing when that console came out.
I think you may be right.
Maybe for certain games.
Because they didn't charge for multiplayer on the PlayStation originally.
Yeah, originally I know like a lot of people enjoyed it because they were like, oh, it's free like online. And Xbox didn't have that. So I don't know if that changed with PS Plus, but either way, I think that this will hurt, quite a few hundred or so, maybe even a few thousand or so people that have PS3s. I mean, it could even be more than that. I don't know, but it's it's a little bit of a bummer. I still occasionally will go in the PS3 store to see if there's any kind of older PS3 games that I want to grab for free, since I am a PS Plus member. So not a huge letdown, but still a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like a really odd thing. It seems like an odd choice to make because like the PlayStation or the Xbox is going in the completely opposite direction with everything. Every month with their games with gold, they offer 2 Xbox games. Usually one of them is a pretty big title and the other one's like an indie game or an arcade game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll do 2 Xbox 360 games. And over the course of the past year, every once in a while, instead of doing a 360 game, they'll do an original Xbox game. And they're still basically going through the entire library and adding to the backwards compatibility list of the system. So, like, you can grab, if you have a copy of Crimson Skies on your shelf, Crimson Skies works in the Xbox One.
That's wild.
Yeah, and there every day or every week I'll see a Twitter post from Major Nelson who's like, "Oh, we just added these 5 games to the backwards compatibility." So they're not stopping.
No, I will say I've got to give a lot of credit to Microsoft and Xbox because they've always been really good about that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
and even Major Nelson is probably one of the most active
Twitter
Twitter people. And he's been that way since I don't know, like probably 2010. I think I was following him back when I actually had like a 360, and he was just always like ready to go, like answering questions.
He goes back further than that, I think.
I'm sure he does.
He's the man.
Yeah.
I don't even know how else to put it, like
well, let me ask you this, Drew, not to interrupt, but does he still have that profile picture where his like head is on fucking fire?
Oh, I don't know.
Because he had a picture right around that time period that I mentioned where he must have done some kind of stunt, but his profile picture was like, he had that weird like goo on his face to protect his face from fire. But it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I just looked at his Twitter. He does not have that currently. But my God, like this man tweets like a machine, and it's impressive. Like if you're an Xbox user and you're not following him, you're really doing yourself disservice because it's not just hype, it's not just marketing. Like he's a part of the community.
He really is in such a big way.
Yeah, it's incredible. And that's the only thing that I feel that Sony has really lacked. Like even Nintendo has it to a degree. They had it with Reggie. Hopefully they'll have it with Doug Bowser. I mean, Doug Bowser's a marketing guy anyhow. So PlayStation is just always, to me, maybe that person's out there and I just don't know who it is.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, what was I gonna say? I don't know. PlayStation Plus dead.
Yeah.
Done. Moving on. Sekiro is coming out March 22nd. And you said that they've put out some footage today, huh?
Yeah. I was reading quite a few things recently on Twitter about some of the guys that are kind of like really following this game, and they're big like YouTube personalities and people that are just large in the community of social media. You have Epic Name Bro. You have Long Island Joe, who's big in the fighting community. Some of those guys, Vadi Vidya, they're basically just Dark Souls, like Soulsborne kind of guys that are following a lot of FromSoft's games. And they're just big in the community. They're very recognizable faces. And they were recently, some of them were flown out by FromSoft and Activision to go and like see the game and play parts of it. and they brought back a ton of info. And I think it was last night, Epic Name Bro was like, hey, like he was on Twitter, he was just like, look, be wary of the internet tomorrow, because tomorrow it's just going to be a sea of like information and spoilers from a bunch of different, news articles and game companies and editorials and all kinds of stuff. And sure enough, if you type it in on Google, there's tons of like articles that have just been published, screenshots, gameplay. There's a lot of info that dropped today, and I'm not really sure why it was today. Maybe it's because they did have some special thing going on that I'm not quite clear on, but either way, the hype is getting real. The game comes out, like you said, March 22nd, and I'm excited. I've talked about this game once before in a previous episode, and it just looks really, really good. It's a mixture of, I would say, Souls, Bloodborne, and Tenchu, all kind of wrapped into one, and it looks incredible, man. It looks like a ton of fun, very scenic. The graphics look amazing. This is what you expect, I think, at this point from a FromSoft game. And Activision is the publisher. A lot of people are still like on the fence about that because of their microtransaction history. But either way, if you guys that are listening, if you have not checked out this game, please take a look. It's not an ad. I have nothing to do with this game. But just check it out. It looks good, and I think it's going to be a very successful game. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, you showed me a trailer of it, or a gameplay demo, I think it was, and it looked absolutely just jaw-dropping. I probably won't be picking it up just because, time is a factor, and if it's anything like Dark Souls, like, I don't want to like break my TV. So
yeah, it looks very challenging. I watched a few segments of a video today from Game Trailers. Love those guys, by the way. And they were just kind of doing a sit down discussion of what they kind of played, what they saw. And I'm hyped, man. I just, I don't know if it's going to be day one. I think a couple people asked me about that already. And, with the backlog that I have and kind of my game plan, I'm not sure if it's going to be something I pick up day one. But you never know, because when it comes to FromSoft and that kind of game, I'll usually be that guy that's like, oh, I'm not going to get it. No, I got too much going on. And then day one, I'm like taking a picture of it in my fucking car with like a GameStop receipt in the background. And, it's just, it might be one of those kind of days, but we'll see.
So is this a game that you would pick up digital or physical?
That's a great question. I think with my new digital life in terms of buying games, I do prefer it that way. It could be digital. I don't really see an incentive on buying physical these days with any game unless there is an incentive, like, some kind of perhaps a steel book or art book or something of that nature has to kind of coincide with it for me to go to a store and buy a physical copy at this point.
Yeah, the reason I was going to recommend physical is just if it's a game that you don't need to have on day one and you're willing to wait about a month or so, chances are Best Buy will have it for $40 within the next couple months.
The physical copy?
The physical copy, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know about the digital because I really don't pay attention to digital pricing. But if they're doing the physical for that price, you might be able to get a code for that price too.
Yeah, that's worth noting. I think just to touch up on digital purchases real quick, the only time that it's kind of more expensive is if you're buying an older game. That's where it gets expensive, because I've seen certain games like Dragon's Dogma and Dragon's Crown and just like a bunch of different older sort of like niche games that just don't really drop in price. And you can pay like up to $40, $50 for those games. And then you go to GameStop, you buy it used, of course, for like 17. So it really just depends on your desire to buy it, digitally or physically.
Yeah, there's no incentive to move it off the shelf because it's a digital file. It doesn't take up any space.
Right. But new games, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like if you don't care about the package and the lack of an instruction manual that no games really have anymore and stuff like that, like you might as well just buy it digital.
I'm going to disagree with you, but that's another podcast.
Yeah, fair enough.
Speaking of exciting things, man, literally seconds before you and I got on Discord to start recording, I saw an article for Command & Conquer Remaster
Dude, I just feel like right now you've got the Mr. Smithers like hands going on. Like, yes, excellent.
I have the biggest fucking smile on my face. Like, this is
Dude,
the
I
best,
can tell.
this is the best news I've heard all day.
I'm excited for you, and you have me excited about a game that I know very little about, so that's saying a lot.
I've been playing Command & Conquer since I was about 10 years old.
That's huge.
I'm trying to remember when the original came out. I actually just watched a video about the making of Tiberian Dawn yesterday.
What's that exactly?
Not Tiberian Dawn, Tiberian Sun. So, all right, long story short, Command & Conquer has like 2 series of games. You have the Tiberian series, which is the original Command & Conquer. The second Command & Conquer called Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun. And then there's a third Command & Conquer, which I can't remember the name of at this moment. That one I actually didn't even play. And then they have the Red Alert series, and the Red Alert series takes place in an alternate universe rather than in the future. And the gist behind that is like during the World War II time, like shit went awry and Hitler never came to power, but Stalin did instead. Or it's like really crazy. It gets into like all this time travel stuff, and they're just ridiculous games. Like, and when you watch the introduction to Command & Conquer, like they just feel like they're made with so much love and pride and dedication, and there are very few games that I feel come off that way. Like, just these guys have fun making these games, and they just ooze with that charisma. You know, it's all these FMV videos and stuff that we're not talking about, like, you know, pre-rendered graphics here. We're talking about a studio that revolutionized how games were played, because they were taking an interactive, a map and everything. And then in between you had like somebody actually giving you the missions on a full motion video with actors. And oh man,
that's awesome.
They're tremendous games. If you're a strategy gamer, and you've never played a Command & Conquer game, then you need to fucking get to work, man. They're just really incredible. And like, if you go back and you play the first couple games, like, let's be honest here, they're dated, they're flawed. But it's a slice of history like no other. I mean, we're talking like Command & Conquer is in the same level of video game history as stuff like Mario and Tetris is to puzzle games, and Mario is to platformers. Like, and nobody talks about it because it's a genre that doesn't mean much to a lot of people.
Sure.
You know, strategy games are not popular games, but if you talk to PC gamers that were in this is a big deal. And accordingly, apparently they're going to make these this and the first Red Alert game as a in 4K. They're bringing back the original composer, Frank Klepacki, who is synonymous with Command & Conquer. His sound is so identifiable with those games that it's like you can't have. I'm at a loss for words. You can't have Command & Conquer without Frank Klepacki. End of story.
So what would you do if you had Frank Klepacki and Mick Gordon in one room? You would just be like, oh my God, tomato red in the face, giant Kool-Aid smile, maybe like skipping into the room.
Oh my God.
God, hi.
That would be something else, man. Let me tell you. That would be something else. Like, let me put it this way. Like, I've actually bought some of Frank Klepacki's albums. Like, he has like a solo music career as well too. He's done a number of albums, and I've bought some of them. I have physical copies of some of his CDs.
That's cool.
So, yeah. But anyway, man, I'm super stoked about this. I have a lot of research to do. I'm not sure when it's coming out, but I just cannot fucking wait. And I am buying those like as soon as possible.
That sounds really fun. I feel like I might have mentioned this on a previous episode, but I want to say that I might have played the game once or twice, like many years ago. I mean, I'm talking like, I don't know, early 2000s, late 90s, somewhere around there.
Do you remember if it was on the PC or on a console?
Definitely PC.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's really the only way to play these games, because you need a mouse and keyboard. I give them credit, for making, console versions of it. And I think that the Xbox actually had some level of success with it with Command and Conquer 3. They released that on the Xbox 360.
Hmm.
But the only reason that really worked is because you had dual sticks at that point. But at the end of the day, you just really cannot replace a keyboard and mouse.
Now, would you say, I kind of have a question here. So, would
Mm.
you say that Command and Conquer on the PC, that particular genre falls in line with, those kind of games where you have to like build armies and like you have to like build like little forts and stuff? It's like one of those, like, I don't know what kind of game it is, like real-time strategy.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So it
exactly what
does,
it is.
so it does fall in line with like Civilization and stuff like that.
Well, Civilization is different because it's turn based.
Okay,
So you issue your orders and then you end your turn, and then when you end your turn, the computer goes or your opponent goes, and then when they end their turn, the next one goes.
I
So
see.
everything is a reaction to what the previous turn was. Command and Conquer, everything's happening in real time. So you're micromanaging, building a base at the same time as you're sending your army to go destroy that other guy, while you're dealing with an attack on your southern border, and you're trying to make sure that you still have some level of income.
Okay.
So there's a lot more complexity to it, in a different way. Like Civ is a very, very complex game, but it's different because you could kind of take a step back, you can breathe, you can analyze. With Command and Conquer, you're reacting nonstop.
Mm.
Warcraft is the same way. The original Warcraft, Starcraft, those are some of the more famous RTS games. I'm looking at my shelf because I have a few of them. Yeah, I have all the Command and Conquers, but Supreme Commander, Total Annihilation was another one. That's a little bit more involved. There's so many different takes on the real time strategy genre, but it all comes back to basically Warcraft and Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
So I'm
Cool.
pumped. I'm so excited about this. And,
I'm glad you are, man. I'm like
yeah,
I said, I'm kind of curious now because of this. Like, I might have to read this article. I might have to watch a couple videos.
they just watch some of like the FMVs. They're
Okay.
so delightfully cheesy and great.
Will do.
It's like watching like that bad horror movie that's so bad it's good. And it knows it's bad. It doesn't like try to play it serious.
Yeah.
Like they know exactly what they're doing, and that's why it works.
Hey, man, if we can love a movie like Bloodsport, then I can probably handle that.
Oh yeah,
Because that movie is so
yeah.
terrible, but so good.
Oh, I love that film. I love that film. All right, I'm done gushing now.
Fair
Next
enough, man.
topic. So you sent me a trailer for one of your favorite game trailers. You wanted to talk about game trailers today, so I'm gonna let you kind of kick things off here.
Yeah, I don't know why or how I came up with this topic. I like I said before in previous episodes, my mind works in very mysterious ways, and sometimes I just imagine things and I think about certain things. And
Mm.
when thinking about topics, I think it just got the gears going, and I was just like, man, like I feel like, with the whole hype around Sekiro and some other games that are coming out, I just thought, we haven't really spoken about trailers
Mm-hmm.
and early gameplay footage, and I think it's such a big thing that a lot of people maybe take for granted, and they kind of watch trailers and they watch footage and they get hyped around the game, or for the
Mm-hmm.
game rather, or maybe people avoid them because they don't want to get spoiled in terms of
Right.
story and plot and whatnot. So I thought that it would be an interesting discussion to have. And when it comes to the Battlefield 3 Caspian Border trailer, I'm just going to drop a Kanye West here. The Battlefield 3 Caspian Border trailer is the greatest trailer of all time.
Okay.
There, I've said it. This is where I get booted off the stage.
Well, I don't have any argument because I don't have like a game trailer to counter that with.
Well, here's the thing. Like,
I'm sure you're wrong though.
I'm sure I'm very wrong, but in my heart and in my mind, it's one of the greatest trailers I've ever seen. And
Mm.
here's why. I'm going to link it in Discord. I'm going to link it on Facebook, whatever, because I want people to just kind of check out this 2 minutes of trailer. But when this trailer dropped, whether you were a Battlefield 3 fan or not, it was so fucking good
Mm.
because it had the music, it had the sounds, it had the sights, it had the graphics, it had the gameplay, it had everything just all wrapped into one. And I think that there was this generalized agreement on how good this trailer was. I think right now it has about 10 million views on the link that I sent. So that kind of does say something. And they were so good that somebody tracked down the guy that was making these trailers. The actual guy that was like behind the scenes that no one ever hears about or sees. And they found him and they interviewed him. And I can't remember his name. I'll probably find it and maybe link it up if I do. But Joe might remember and Raph might remember, but they did a full interview. And he basically, I don't even remember what he said, but they basically just probed him on a bunch of questions. And they were just like, dude, how do you make this game look so good and so exciting? And we were Battlefield fans, like me, Joe, and Raph, and a bunch of other friends of ours. So for us, it was like just watching, like, I don't know what you could compare it to, just like the greatest thing you've ever seen. Like, we were so excited. We couldn't wait to play this map. And it was just a trailer for a map. It wasn't even really for the game per se. It was just kind of like a DLC map that I think was coming. But I thought of that. When I thought about game trailers, I thought, what is the best one that I can remember vividly and distinctively? And I thought of the Caspian Border one.
When I watched the trailer before we started recording, and it is pretty epic. I mean, it makes that game like seem like the most badass thing in the universe.
It does. And, I think that's the beauty of trailers and also kind of the dark side is, you take movie trailers or game trailers and sometimes they make the game look, amazing. I think Watch Dogs was notorious for a gameplay trailer that made this game seem like it was going to be the greatest game ever. And then when that game came out, everybody was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not even close to what they demoed at E3. So, I mean, that happens all the time. But I feel like Battlefield 3 kind of lived up to what they put out when it came to trailers, especially for the PC players.
Yeah, it's a dangerous path to walk because, I feel like they do this in movies too. They make things look like the most incredible must-have experiences. And then you actually go and you start playing it and it doesn't always live up to the hype.
Yes, indeed. Many, many times. And I think that it's an interesting discussion because what I'm wondering is, are these trailers and early gameplay footage videos necessary for gamers? Is it really that important? Or do we just kind of watch them because we're like, let me just watch this. The game's coming out soon. Like, let me just kind of get a taste of what it's about.
Right.
Without going off into a giant tangent, I think that the answer is yes, they are important. They stimulate the fans and the audience for a new game. They build the hype. I think it's a very viable, important, cog in the machine.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like the words. I agree. I agree with you. Like, I think trailers are indeed important, but like, it's a dangerous path for people to walk down, especially like developers, because they introduce a lot of things in a trailer and perhaps it doesn't work out. And I actually want to kind of refer back to Anthem because on Reddit yesterday, somebody actually put up a post where they're asking, like, whatever happened to these things? Just a few examples of what we've previously seen ends up being absent from the game that we end up getting. And some of them include launching missions from a Strider, which is a vehicle already out in the world, transition animations instead of loading screens, mission markers, several javelins being displayed at once rather than just the one that you actually are using, things like that. And the reason I bring this post up is because Ben Irving, I think it's Ben Irving, he actually took the time to reply. And I think it's a very interesting point of view. And he said, I'm just going to quote him here. The short answer is that the cost of transparency is things change. We did our best to be transparent on the journey to going live, but with that, we knew things would be different in some situations. Sometimes people would be happy and sometimes it would be upset. It's the cost of transparency. To elaborate, game development is full of change. There are a million reasons why you set out with an idea and it evolves over time. This is common in every game. We shared as much as we could. Some things change. So the cost of transparency is that some things we said become not true. Not because someone was dishonest, but because it changed over the course of development.
I really enjoyed listening to that answer in such a big way, because I think that not enough people are transparent, not only in just regular life, but especially when it comes to game development and this kind of thing, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's going to have its consequences when you're being transparent in life sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it was well said. It's like, listen, it's not that we lied to you. It's just that, what we wanted to happen no longer is happening.
hmm
And it could be technically it's not possible. It could be it no longer fits our vision. It could be we're saving it for later. It could be a number of different reasons. But like, I think players want a level of transparency out of developers. And the more that's revealed, the less that's guaranteed.
Yes, agreed.
And I'm just using Anthem as an example because it's kind of hot in the news. But I mean, there's, thousands of games over the years who have, they've promised something and then in the end not been able to deliver on that. Watch Dogs is a perfect example.
Yeah,
you know
it really was.
um
And I think that I could think of quite a few games. In fact, I was thinking about a few more when you were talking about a few things,
mhm.
and or when you were talking about Anthem. I thought of Metal Gear Solid 5, which has a lot of issues on its own, but I remember beating that game and thinking, wait a second, like there's parts of this game that might be missing, because I remember segments and sequences in some of the trailers that I didn't remember seeing in the game. So
Mhm.
when I got done beating the game, I went back on YouTube to inspect and reanalyze some of those trailers, and I was like, oh, sure enough, like they cut some of this footage.
Right.
And it was kind of
Yeah.
annoying because what they cut was like really good in the trailer. So I think that these things happen all the time. So maybe the answer is, when you watch footage, or early footage rather, and gameplay trailers, take it with a grain of salt.
And my favorite is like when you see like a trailer debuting at E3 for a game and the game just looks like beyond anything that you've ever seen. Like
hmm
it is just the most gorgeous thing in the universe. And then you actually get the game like 2 years later and it looks like junk.
I know, man. It's really discouraging, and I think that most of us out there now will understand, and do understand that they're demoing and playing these
Mm,
games on pretty high end PCs most of the time.
right.
And I'm pretty sure that's what they did with Watch Dogs. I think that one was clear, because in a lot of ways, it's almost like a magic trick, right? Like you're like, where's the PC? I can't see it on stage. And
Right.
sometimes you do see it and it's covered in like a black tarp.
Or sometimes it's not even a PC. Sometimes it's a pre-recorded thing.
Yep.
And they're literally playing a DVD and they have a guy up there with a controller in his hand acting like he's playing the game.
Really? They've gone that far?
I'm sure.
Yeah. I guess that's
You know.
not, it shouldn't be that surprising.
Yeah. I mean, let's be completely honest here. I guarantee that's happened. Or they've done something so many times that like when they are actually playing games on stage at like E3, that's a very rehearsed thing. They
Very.
know they're going this way. They're going, they're only playing this part of the game. They're not going to turn around and wander off in the other direction because, it's broken over there or
Yeah.
whatever.
No, it's very rehearsed. I mean, if you
Hmm.
watch some of the early Anthem footage from, I think, E3, I mean, the way that they pan the camera around, it's not realistic, because the
Hmm.
way that they're panning it is so smooth. Like if you try to
Yeah.
do that now, you might be able to do it, but most people have fucking fumbly ass thumbs that they're not going to be able to pan across like that smoothly, and then capture like the birds flying off in the distance. And I've watched some of that stuff, man. Like it's just obvious that it's rehearsed, which is fine,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
totally fine. But,
Right.
it's like you said, I think that you mentioned before that it's a fine line, right? Like you
Yeah.
really just have to be careful. And I think that it's a mixture of game devs perhaps showing too much and showing something that's unrealistic. And then the other half of it is we're watching some of this stuff and expecting perhaps too much.
Yeah. I agree.
So it's half and a half,
Hmm.
but important regardless.
Yeah, I think it's a necessary evil. But I mean, for me, like I try to avoid trailers as much as possible because when I do start following them and watching them, I tend to jump on the hype train pretty easily.
It's hard not to,
And
man.
yeah, and even with movies, like I'm really not a movie trailer person. I have friends that will link movie trailers on a regular basis, and 90% of the time I don't even bother watching them.
Yeah,
You know,
it's tough. I mean, sometimes I try not to watch it because I'm like, no, 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 I want to walk into this blind, and that's kind of what I did with Sekiro today. But at the same
yeah,
time, I was like, I just want to watch like just a little bit.
yeah, exactly.
It's hard.
It is. It is. Let's move on to our final topic of the day. The Nintendo Switch.
Mm.
There's some games coming up that are on the radar, and we've been talking about the Switch a little bit more lately. What are your thoughts?
Uh, I don't know. I think that it's hard to kind of sum up some kind of statement for the Switch. I think that I'm still learning more about it, and I haven't been playing it as much as I should be.
Mm,
I remember mentioning in a previous episode that I bought it kind of exclusively for like two games initially, and that was Octopath Traveler, which is really, really good,
mm-hmm,
and then Bayonetta 2. So for me, it's kind of like a Bayonetta console because they're going to make the third game for this, and I'm pretty sure
hmm,
it's exclusive for the Switch, so it's not like I can get rid of it, nor do I want to. Um, and I think that we had mentioned also before that it seems to be shaping up to be quite the console for older games. Like I know they're going to release FF7 on it and
mm,
some other stuff, and then it seems to be really good for, obviously traveling with. It goes without saying. And then the fact that there are some pretty cool games that are coming out this year and in the future for the Switch, I think is an exciting reason to have it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, but I'm an owner. What about you? I know you've been wanting to get this for a while. Why don't we touch back on why you want the system and what kind of games you want?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the biggest thing is the appeal of it being both a traditional television console as well as a portable.
Hmm.
I have always struggled to like really embrace portable gaming, despite owning a number of portable systems.
Agreed.
It's very rare for me to grab my 3DS or even my Game Boy Advance and just throw something in and play it and stick with it for more than maybe an hour.
Yeah.
Um, but like part of that I think is like, all right, I'm adding just another game to the equation that I'm going to play.
Hmm.
Part of it is cell phones.
Hmm.
Cell phones have kind of replaced that desire to play a portable game because I can play portable games on my cell phone.
Hmm.
And I think part of it is like I really enjoy sitting on my comfy couch with a controller in front of my 65-inch TV, or I like sitting on my comfy computer chair with my nice desk with my bottle of beer. I have um, a better experience overall when I'm sitting at home playing versus portable. And I know you can play portable games at home, but the experience is just different. And I think the Nintendo Switch kind of scratches that itch of both those things. Like I could do both.
Yeah.
I could start a game at home, bring it with me where I'm going. If I have free time while I'm there, then I could play it, and then bring it back home and pick up where I left off. That's very appealing.
Yeah, no, it really is. And the little charging station or kind of like the base that it sits in,
Yeah.
to move that around is so easy as well. If I want to play on 55 inches or if I want to play on the 27-inch monitor or if I
Right.
want to, grab and go, you can do all three and you can move it around very quickly. It's not like, you have to move your Xbox One, which, is a much more daunting process because you've got the power brick and you've got everything else to go with it and you
Hmm.
could anchor a boat with that fucking thing. So like,
Yeah.
it's the appeal in terms of it being mobile in
Hmm.
pretty much every scenario is definitely worth it.
Yeah. I feel it is. And I like the idea of buying games that are both portable and not. Like I have a shelf dedicated to like my portable games. Um, it would be nice if I didn't have, all these different portables kind of scattered everywhere.
Hmm.
The idea of just having the Switch, it's like it's both. It's both.
Yeah, I think in
Yeah.
a lot of ways it seems to be what the Wii U wanted to be,
Hmm.
and they really kind of. nailed it. Because
Yeah.
when the Wii U came out, I mean, it definitely succeeded in some ways, but when the Switch came out, like everybody just went fucking nuts over this thing.
Right.
And granted, it's cool. I mean, I'm not that
Yeah.
hyped about it, like the way that people were when it came out. I was like, whatever. It's just Nintendo doing like another innovative thing, and it's kind of like, I mean, it's cool, but I think
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are still, I wouldn't even say suffering or dealing with. They're enjoying the scenario that you painted out the first time, which was I
Mm-hmm.
want to sit down on my couch on 65 inches with a controller in my hand,
Right.
and a blanket over me, like that. That is like what most core gamers want because I wouldn't say it's the norm. It's just something that we're kind of used to, and it's just kind of better that way.
Right. Right. I agree. I definitely agree. I'm looking at my points here, by the way, trying to see how much I have towards my Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, we should create like some sort of chart or like a thermometer graph. He's
I'm up
so
to
close.
I'm up to $185 in certificates.
What I think it's like $300, right, for the system.
Yeah, it's around that.
Yeah, you'll
So
get there. Just keep saving.
yeah, I just I don't know if I want to wait that much longer.
Yeah.
But I don't. But like at the same time, it's like I barely have the time to play what I have. So
Yeah, and there are some cool features, man, that I think some people listening may not know about. Like you can undock this thing. You can take
hmm
off the sides of the each controller because there's two. There's one on each side. You can then turn those around and it acts like a controller.
right.
You've got a kickstand on this thing.
And don't
So
forget those controllers have motion sensors in them too.
they do. It's a very impressive unit, and I
Yeah.
think that when most people just kind of glance at it, they're like, I kind of see what's going on, but there's a lot going into it. Like you got the kickstand. I remember when it first came out, I was working with an employee that popped out the kickstand at work, put it on a table, broke off like the little Joy Cons or whatever, and we were just playing Mario Kart like in a matter of maybe 5-10 seconds, of him
Yeah.
just kind of like revamping this thing around. And then when it's all said and done, you pop them back in. You can pop them into like little wheels if that's your preference with Mario Kart. You have your Pro controller. It's
hmm
it's pretty versatile.
Yeah.
I think it's a very neat system. It's a little bit cumbersome. It's small, so if you have big hands like us,
Yeah.
it's a little bit finicky, but you get used
hmm
to it.
Well, I mean, I think for me, I would probably not be playing on those little Joy Cons all that much. Maybe once in a while.
Yeah.
And then if that's the case, it's like, all right, well, you just shut up and you deal with it for a little while.
It's part of the experience. Like, if you pick up a Game Boy or anything portable, it's going to be fucking small. Like,
Yeah.
if you want something big, like get an iPad Pro.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Exactly. Um, I love that the indie scene has really embraced that system too.
Yes. Yeah. I know we've touched up on that before, and it seems to be still going in that direction, which is very cool to see.
Yeah. So I mean, for me, like that's one of the biggest selling points is like this is that cool little indie machine, and I'm a physical game collector, but I see a lot of those games are digital only, and that kind of makes me a little disappointed because I really would prefer to have physical copies of them. As I mean, I think the Wii Shop is a perfect example of why digital games are kind of tough. It's like you buy a game and the shop closes, and let's say you go to re-download it, and it might not be there anymore.
Yeah. I remember I actually had to call Nintendo directly when oh my God, I traded in like a Wii U and then I got the system again and I
Mm.
lost, I don't know, I think I lost Zelda the Wind Waker
Mm-hmm.
somehow and I couldn't like re-download it. So I had to call them and it was kind of like this big fiasco to kind of have them like, re-ping it off on like my new console so I could like re-download it.
Yeah.
But, there's some intricacies that I think may still exist with Nintendo's eShop and their download format. It might have improved, but I remember back then it was kind of weird because they have a lot of like their whole online structure is very different. Like they have Nintendo
Yeah.
IDs. In order to friend somebody on the Switch, I think you have to use some crazy fucking code. It's
Yep.
it's like a friend ID or something. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's not like Xbox or PS4. It's like, hey, what's your gamer tag? Like it doesn't work that way.
Right. It's kind of crazy. And I understand, Nintendo is trying very hard to be family friendly and protect children.
Mm.
But I think maybe they went a little too far.
Maybe, yeah.
So
is there a specific game before we wrap up here that you want to play and it's kind of your main burning desire to get this thing?
that's a really tough question. I really want to get a copy of Grease. Hollow Knight, I feel like there's a lot of games that I could play elsewhere, but I'm saving them for the Switch.
Okay.
Hollow Knight's one of them. Dead Cells is one of them.
Sure.
Grease, which is only, well, it's PC or PS or Switch rather.
Yep.
I mean, I'd like to try Mario Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about that. But off the top of my head, like, there's really not much. It's a bunch of little things all together.
Sure. Okay. Well, that's a good lineup, though. What you mentioned, I think, is good, and I really can't wait for you to play Grease.
There were other games that I have on my list too, and I can't think of any of them right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know you have a list going, but I think that those are great games, and I think, like you said, it's a portable indie machine in some ways, and it's a gorgeous display as well. I think you're really going to enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a big selling point too. I've played some terrible displays over the years.
Oh yeah, I mean the Wii U was not good. It was quite the downgrade. Like when you switch from, no pun intended, but when you switch from the TV to the actual Switch, or the mini display, it's really, from what I can see, there's not much of a difference at all.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there is, but I mean, because obviously you have 4K to like that, but
right.
Either way, I mean, when you downgraded from the Wii U, like connected to a TV and then to the Wii U pad, it was quite significant.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, hopefully, sometime this year.
Yeah.
When I do get my Switch, we'll do a special episode.
Yeah.
And
we could do like a Switch week or something, or like a Switch month when that's all we play.
That would actually be really cool. I think that would be a lot of fun. So, if you want to contribute to the Kickstarter for Drew getting a Switch, hit us up.
He's asking for $1. That's the pledge, folks.
$1, yeah. We'll set up a Patreon, and I'll get a Switch, and you'll get nothing. Well, on that note, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss before we wrap this up and ride off into the sunset?
Battlefield 3's Caspian Border trailer is the greatest trailer of all time.
All right, Kanye.
And it's did we find out if it's Bronchasaurus?
It's not Bronchasaurus, that's for sure. It's Brontosaurus. Yeah,
so it is Bront. Google it quickly.
BRONTO Saurus. SAURUS.
Yeah, just fudge it. Google will fix it.
I just did. I read it to you. I literally read it to you just now.
Oh, okay. I thought that was you like typing it out loud.
No.
All right, so it's Brontosaurus.
Yes.
Perfect.
Bronchosaurus. Jesus Christ.
The amount of people that probably did not correct me or did not want to correct me would be staggering by now.
No, you know what? I don't know if anybody else does this when they're listening to the podcast, but I do this all the time. Like, I'll be listening to a podcast, and the podcast host will be like way the fuck wrong, and I'll be yelling at the radio like, "You idiot! It's not this, it's this." And they
it's 4. 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man. Anyway, folks, be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at WDGRPodcast. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us at our hub on Libsyn at WDGRPodcast. And, of course, join the Discord. Chat with us, crazy fucks.
Please.
We got all kinds of awesome stuff going on there. Lots of chatter. And we'd love to have you be a part of it. Be sure to like and subscribe to us anywhere you can. YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. Download the show, subscribe. Please take the moment to leave a review. We would really appreciate it. And Will, if somebody would like to follow you, how can they do so?
1-900 Will Gear.
Charges $2.99 a minute.
$3.99. I just upped it.
Oh, you big charger, you.
Oh, yeah. I'm a big charger, all right. This is getting weird real quick.
Oh, God. You can follow me at Science Storm. Thank you so much for everybody for listening, and we'll see you around.
Take care.